obviously machine learning, AI focused in research, and we hear a lot in the news of where AI is going, blah blah blah. Where do you think in like the next 5-10 years will be the most beneficial area that machine learning AI will impact? Will it be healthcare? Will it be something else? Or
I mean, one thing is, I would say my hope, and the other thing is the reality that might be completely different. I really don't know. So my hope is that obviously AI is, I mean, for the benefit of any discipline that can be applied. I am biased towards healthcare because
you work in that area,
and then you see the benefit so it's because we're here talking about people, and then when you see in the news, for instance, things with cancer, with cardiovascular disease, and COVID, okay, and then and you know that potentially the things that you are doing, okay, will solve
at least one of those problems in those areas.
I, for instance, things like, visiting the GP, okay, something that potentially can be just solved by, intelligent system that you can.
Your digital twin.
Yes.
I would much rather go to a computer than a GP. My GP just Googles everything.
Yeah, I mean, I was not planning to say that, but I will say that.
No, don't worry, Ivan. I will say.
I went to the GP once. Can you hear this? Can you hear my neck? See, no.
Can you hear this?
Listen. Can you hear my neck? Listen.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah. So my
Your
neck
clicking.
clicks. Right. So I went to the GP once. Right. I was like, right, my neck clicks. It never used to click, but now it clicks. What's going on here? It's not. It's probably not supposed to click. Like when you get to a junction where you got to look round and you're like that. I sound like my indicator. Right. So I went in, and then she had a book out. She had Google, and in the end, do you want to see what a diagnosis was for my neck? That never used to click, but now clicks. I just have a clicky neck.
A clicky neck.
That's it.
That was her medical diagnosis.
Yeah.
I was like,
but you know what though?
I'll just leave.
My auntie was with a clinician for years, and I think as the population, we always want an answer. And he just said to us once, he went, everyone comes with wanting a solution now. And I suppose that's what machines could solve. Yeah, but we just don't know what's wrong with you sometimes. Sometimes we've got to say,
a lot of
I don't know.
I acknowledge that. I would say most of the cases we really don't know. I mean, clinicians really don't know. There is a lot of uncertainty.
A lot of trial and error.
But but one aspect that I see problematic is, nowadays, is that accessing the GP, okay.
Yeah.
So, for instance, the practice I've been attending that practice for since I've been living in the same area for several years now. After COVID, it's been a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I remember, for instance, a few weeks ago, that receiving a text from my GP saying, because of your age, you
flu jab, is it?
You have the right for a health check.
Yeah, like
So I say, okay, that's nice. And then so there was a link. Click on that link, and then you can book the appointment. So I click on the link, and obviously there were no appointments available. Okay.
Then and
I say, and then you had 7 days. So the link was just valid for 7 days. So it was me every night trying to to
get an appointment. Yeah.
Because the other option is to call, because I say if not, then you can ring the practice, but you're not going to get there. So I say, okay, let's try. And then I thought, okay, maybe let's try to book a normal appointment through the website. That is this patient's system they have. I don't know. Then there are never appointments available, by the way. And then I noticed there was an appointment available. So I'm gonna click on that. So I choose that, and then it said, you don't have the right for more appointments online because you have got too many appointments this year.
Online?
Yes. So
too many appointments.
I was trying to remember. I said, okay, maybe this one 2 appointments. this year.
How can someone have too many appointments? If you're sick, you're sick. You've been sick too
okay,
many
so
times.
You're there dying well, tough shit, mate. You've had your lot.
Yeah, you've been twice already now, mate.
So I tried to click on the original link again, and then obviously I got the notification saying it's not valid anymore. So basically I need to ring the practice.
Fun.
Yeah, so so this is not working.
And you can 100% see the utility of a AI-driven GP diagnostic.
Yeah, I mean,
checker or
definitely. So
or even if just as a triage system.
You could see just going right from machine to pharmacy. So like loads of problems which people get, if you let people know, you know, if you've got a rash, you know, let the machine find out what it is. You don't need the GP for the prescription.
All the technologies are already there. So, for instance, detecting many of the skin conditions. This is a problem that is already solved.
You should just be able to here's what you've got, go to pharmacy, get the cream.
And then...
So is that where you see the biggest impact coming from machine learning?
Not the big. I mean, not the biggest impact. This is the impact that I would like to see very, very soon. Okay?
Yeah.
Because probably that. But in general, AI in health basically is a thing I see as a lot of benefit. Okay. I mean, impact in many areas, but a lot of benefit in health. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's, I mean, not because clinicians, they are not doing the work properly, so it's not like that, so they do a massive job, but it's, you know, having this system that have access to all this information that the clinicians can use, you know, to make these
to help improve the
final decision.
But imagine how much relief a GP would get if even 20% of the appointments, which was simple diagnostics, went under the carpet, went through a machine right to pharmacy, and they dealt with more serious matters where maybe, I don't know, someone wants to actually see a doctor. But I know simple stuff where you've had simple things. You personally cannot be bothered going to GP. You just want it, whatever the medicine. I just want to go to the pharmacy, but you need to go to get it, and it's a nice. So that
we are very close to that. I think it's. I mean, obviously not because it's not only technology. In terms of technology, I think
it could be done.
It could be done. It's just a question of obviously there is also politics, but there is also what is the impact that it's going to have in the practices. There are a lot of things.
Yeah, because then I suppose the impact you've got to measure as well as a lot of old people are just going to not get on board with that.
Yeah, so for instance, you don't one of the aspects that is a sensitive aspect.
You don't want to isolate the older generation.
Yeah, exactly. So there is people that might get isolated because of that. So they might lose. And we don't want this kind of thing. So we need to be careful with all of that.
So it's a balancing act, isn't it? But I can definitely see the utility.
Yeah.
But then I suppose the natural question that comes off the back of that is what's be the biggest impact? What do you think is potentially that you see a lot of scaremongering around AI? What do you think is a genuine kind
potential
of
harm?
Potential harm or potential worry that may arise?
I mean, obviously there are a lot
AI?
of things that we so when you think about that, it's scary. So sounds scary. So for instance, with the army, for instance, in war, so giving machines that are controlled by intelligence system.
Don't Israel do that on the border? So
I'm not aware, but yes.
Let me just.
It's automated. I'm not sure it's AI.
Just before the Israeli.
Yeah, you're saying like letting a machine control the release of a explosion or.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that when during peace time.
Yeah.
So then there is a lot of control, there are a lot of regulation and things, but as soon as we go,
to war,
everything
goes out the window.
Exactly. So you saw that. I mean, obviously we know that for the last,
the last big punch up.
You see the last big scrap we had.
Yeah, you see how things started.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly started to deteriorate a lot. And
it's the famous thing, isn't it? Is when did I was going to say Warner Brothers. When did the Wright brothers discover flight? It was late 1800s, and then by the end of 1944, we already had jet planes.
Yeah.
Because of two wars.
Yeah, wars progress innovation, but it's using that innovation for the wrong things.
It's done
I
so
suppose.
Outside of normal regular. Can't say that word.
regulatory
means.
Yeah, I mean, this is the aspect, and then there are a lot of obviously jobs that we see that they are going
We've
to
had that
disappear.
discussion, haven't we? Like self-driving cars, taxi drivers are going to be, and delivery drivers.
And it's, I mean, this interesting that aspect of taxi drivers, because for instance companies like Uber, so they are pretty much collecting data from
every single driver.
human drivers to be able to train their.
I've seen their videos on YouTube as well of the early tests that they've been doing, where they put these two old fellas in their 80s in a taxi without a driver, and the pair of them sit in it and they go, and it's like it's fun. They put it up because it's funny, but they're going.
There is a funny video because that they are testing that in San Francisco.
And
there was a situation that I think the police was blocking the one road, and then the taxi, the self-driving taxi, didn't know what to do with that, and just pretty much it stopped there. And then the police was saying, move the car away, and the people in the car were like, I don't know what to do.
In the back, don't shoot me.
Yeah, so you need to move the car, and they say, boys,
it's no just
driver.
Yeah,
so I don't know what to do with this. Yeah,
that's funny. That,
but yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we can spend days just talking about potentially, but I mean, there is also the risk that we fall again into another dark age in AI. Because there is being a lot of... I
remember you telling us about that in Masters.
Yeah, so I mean, if you see, that's the reason it's important to to see the history of things. So with neural networks, pretty much they started with with the perceptron in the 50s. So there was a lot of hype with that. So that was in the news. Newspaper was saying that machines were going to control over the world and all of that.
How cyclical
it was
the
just
world is, isn't it?
with the developing of just one neuron, neuron that was the perceptron, and then yes, there was a minor problem about nonlinear models.
And it all just got put in the bin basically.
And then there was Marvin Minsky. And paper. Marvin Minsky was the.
I remember you giving us like an hour lecture on
the
this.
father of AI, if you like.
Yeah.
They wrote this book, Perceptron. Basically, they killed the perceptron with that. So because they showed that you couldn't solve a non-linear problem. I mean, a non-linear separable problem. Okay, so then they took easily 16 years to solve that problem. Okay, 16 years. And then meanwhile, I mean, we say that was our first dark age. I would say, I mean, in a different way that, yes, there was a dark age for...
Sorry, I'm having trouble with connection.
It's okay, that won't come up,
Siri doesn't like us.
Siri doesn't like what I'm saying about...
Shut up.
The machines are fighting back.
Oh my God! Get out quick! Everybody run!
Yeah, so I'm just looking if there is not any drone coming. So then, but I mean, there was a lot of things in AI in that period of time. There was, in logic and all of that. And then in the 90s, there was a lot of things that we know these days were actually developed in the 90s. There was a lot of things that were developed, convolutional neural networks, LSTM, all of that was developed in the 90s.
LSTM was developed in the 90s?
Yeah, all of that is from the 90s. Okay. The only major thing from, this era, if you like, is generative adversarial networks.
Is that like the actual only real true development?
I mean, obviously, it's difficult to say. I mean, transformers and all of that, but attention mechanism as well. So this is 2015 onwards. Okay, but all these things like LSTMs, general recurrent neural networks, CNN, all of convolutional neural networks, all of that. This is from the 90s. But then there was this. So what was the issue? The issue was that, yes, in the lab, everything was working. But then, obviously, the industry was interested, okay, now let's try to solve real problems. And then we started to have, people started to have real issues with that because we didn't have the computing power to solve this kind of problems. Okay, and then now we have that. So, but then is that the problem is always, I think so when we start a new dark age is when we have very high expectation.
And we always fall short.
Yeah. So, and then people then realize, oh, actually, we are not there as we thought. So then, for instance, now with generative AI,
like ChatGPT is getting worse, isn't it?
Exactly. So, and then there is this high expectation that now suddenly with generative AI, or large language models, for instance, things like you can do pretty much everything. And then you get surprised when you get an answer that actually this is not exactly what on this kind of, and then you say, oh, actually I actually cannot solve this with this. Okay, so you say, okay, yes, I can just let's input the system, and then I will get everything. And then you realize, oh no, wait a minute, I still need to spend time in reviewing all the things that it's doing. So this is not exactly what I was expecting. I was expecting just to solve the problem.
So then people stop using it.
Then people may start, and then people may say, okay, we are not there yet. And this is a risk. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but it's just a risk. So then anything can happen. So maybe we can just carry on, so progressing on this. But there is a limitation also with hardware.
I see that coming, though, in that...
Which coming?
Exactly what you were saying there. Because after doing like some reading and stuff about, say, the dot-com bubble years ago, it's so similar. Like, basically, you see companies now where they use the word AI and they're getting like hundreds of millions of pounds in backing, being valued at billion-dollar companies, but there's no way all of these companies can deliver.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
at some point, somebody's going to lose a lot of money on an AI investment.
This is something that this is going to happen. To me, it's clear that it's going to happen. I'm probably, they know that. They already know that. So investors, probably they're putting money in different companies, and then probably they know, okay, a few of them will only survive. Because you see there is an explosion in the number of companies you are having now.
Yeah.
And then... But it's more fundamental than that. So it's about AI itself is gonna. But because there is also a limitation with hardware. So there is also a limitation in the aspect of environment, for instance. So there is you start seeing that pressure that if AI is environmentally friendly or not. So it's clear that this probably is not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like
so there is a lot
the
of
same questions got thrown up about Bitcoin.
Exactly.
What was it? It contributed to like an actual measurable percentage of the world's carbon emissions was people doing Bitcoin transactions, for example.
Yeah.
So then it became very much a contentious topic because it's like, right, people want this new technology, but look at what it's doing elsewhere.
Yeah, and the question also is that if we are taking the right path towards what we call AGI, so artificial general intelligence, because this is the ultimate aim.
It's like the God status of AI, if you like.
Exactly. So at least in terms of
how far do you genuinely think we're away from that? Because I still think we're nowhere near.
The problem with, just to say that the problem with artificial intelligence is as soon as you develop something that is intelligent. So you say, for instance, we put a target. So, I don't know, in the 70s was to be able to develop a system that was able to play chess. And then we hit that. So it was in the 90s, okay? With the Deep Blue, I think it was called.
And then you got Google's DeepMind and...
No, that was before that. It was with IBM. IBM developed this I think it was Deep Blue that was developed. That was 1998 or so.
Right. Ah, right. Okay.
And then I say, okay, so we need to go for some,
We need to make something more intelligent.
Yeah, because then people say, oh, yes, just chess is not really, intelligent
enough.
Yeah, so then Go, and then it was developed Go.
Have you ever seen the documentary on that on YouTube?
No, I don't.
Have you ever watched it?
I know the game Go, and I know there's a documentary you told me to watch.
So good.
Yeah. So and then it's like, okay, so a few years ago people were saying, oh no, it's just a machine will never being able to write a poem or
But now
to
it can.
compose, musical piece or to paint, or to. And now we have these kind of things, and then there's this debate that if it is actually art or not, and there is that put into question what is art actually, and this kind of thing. So, is the problem with to your question? So the problem is that every time we hit this kind of a target,
there's another ceiling.
There is
There's
another ceiling. So then, so to me, I mean, when we talk about AGI, probably we are still far from that, okay? But then there is also the aspect on whether we really want AGI
to get there in the first place.
Yeah, because I mean, I would like to, but this is just because I interested on this, but it's in the aspect that if we really need that or not. So
socially, do we need it?
Yeah, so I don't have the answer for that. It's just putting that question. We really need AGI or not. And then if it happens that it's not needed, what you need is something that, for instance, is good at predicting, cardiovascular disease.
Like object-specific
or
AI.
You want the same system that is able to predict cardiovascular disease, able to, to design buildings or you want the same, because this is a AGI. I mean, but we are not able to do that either.
Yeah.
So
I know what you're saying. Like, we're not quite sure if we want that. The philosophical question is that something we want? Do we want to just keep it in these, predict cardiovascular disease, do this?
So we want
So,
some
system.
I suppose the question is sentience, then, isn't it? Do we want something which is a piece of AI that can be applied generally to any task, or something which is a sentient piece of...
Exactly. So this is so the because again, so it's another philosophical question on that. Why do we want to develop this kind of thing? So because we really want to work on this for the benefit of humanity, or it's just because we want this ego, okay? Or so this so I don't see this kind of tasks that we really need a system that is comprehensive in terms of intelligence